Have you ever wondered how far science can go to uncover the truth? Some psychology experiments didn't just push the limits. They crossed the line, exposing the darkest sides of human behavior. In this video, we'll explore 5 of the most horrifying and mind-blowing experiments ever happened. These shocking studies will challenge everything you know about people and about yourself. Let's begin with something deceptively simple. In the 1960s, psychologist Albert Bandura conducted the now famous Bobo doll experiment to answer a pressing question: is aggression a learned behavior? Here's how it worked. Children watched an adult aggressively attacking a Bobo doll, and they not only hit and kicked the Bobo doll, but also shouting phrases like "sock him in the nose," "hit him," as part of the aggressive behavior. When the children were later given the same doll, guess what happened? They copied the behavior almost exactly, imitating both the physical aggression and the aggressive language they'd seen. This groundbreaking study showed the immense power of observational learning. It also raised serious questions about the influence of violent role models in media and beyond. And here also comes deep question: how much of who we are has been shaped by what we've seen? Something even darker: the infamous monster study of 1939. Led by psychologist Wendell Johnson, this study aimed to explore the effects of positive and negative speech therapy. Tragically, the researchers chose orphans as their subjects, some of the most vulnerable participants imaginable. The children were divided into 2 groups. The first group received positive reinforcement for their speech, praise and encouragement for their fluency and communication skills. As you might expect, these children thrived, gaining confidence in their ability to speak. But the second group was treated very differently. They were subjected to harsh criticism and constant negative feedback for any perceived speech imperfections. They were told they were speaking poorly and would likely become stutterers. Over time, many of these children developed severe speech issues and emotional trauma. Some even carried the effects of this cruel treatment for the rest of their lives. The consequences were so cruel that 68 years later, participants sued the University of Iowa that supervised the study and won nearly $1 million in compensation. The monster study is widely condemned today, not only for its unethical methods, but for the irreversible harm it caused to innocent children. It stands as a grim reminder of how powerful words can be. But what if, instead of saying cruel things to people, we simply told them to harm others? Would they obey? This question drove one of the most famous and unsettling studies in psychology, the Milgram Experiment, conducted in 1961 by psychologist Stanley Milgram. The setup was simple yet horrifying. Participants were recruited to take part in a study on learning and memory. They were assigned the role of a teacher, while another individual, an actor posing as a learner, was strapped to a chair in another room. The teacher was instructed to administer electric shocks to the learner every time they gave an incorrect answer to a set of questions. With each wrong answer, the voltage was increased. The shocks weren't real, but the participants didn't know that. The learner was an actor, pretending to scream in pain, beg for the shocks to stop, and even go silent at higher voltage levels, suggesting they might have been seriously harmed. Despite the apparent suffering, a stern authority figure in a lab coat urged the participants to continue, using phrases like, "The experiment requires that you continue." The results were shocking. 65% of participants obeyed orders to deliver the maximum voltage of 450 volts. That can have severe and potentially even fatal effects on a human, even when the learner fell silent, implying they might be unconscious or dead. Many participants showed visible signs of stress and even crying, but still obeyed. Milgram's study revealed a disturbing truth. Under authority's influence, ordinary people can commit horrifying acts, even when it defies their own morals. It remains one of psychology's most shocking experiments, A chilling reminder of how easily authority can override personal conscience. What would you have done? Would you have obeyed? But what if we don't place people under authority, but instead give them power and authority over others, letting them decide how to act? In 1971, psychologist Philip Zimbardo sought to answer this question with the now infamous Stanford Prison Experiment. He created a simulated prison in the basement of Stanford University and randomly assigned college students into two groups: guards and prisoners. While the prisoners wore smocks with identification numbers, the guards were given uniforms and batons, symbolizing authority. At first, the participants played their roles tentatively. The experiment planned to last 2 weeks, but took a dark turn already within just a couple of days. The guards began to assert their authority in increasingly cruel ways. Meanwhile, the prisoners started to break down emotionally, showing signs of extreme stress and hopelessness. The environment became so toxic and abusive that some prisoners begged to be released, and even though participants were technically allowed to leave, the structure of the experiment blurred the lines between reality and simulation, making it psychologically difficult for them to exit, while others staged a rebellion in desperation. The guards responded with even harsher measures, using psychological manipulation and physical dominance to suppress dissent. What was meant to last 2 weeks spiraled out of control and had to be shut down after just 6 days, due to the escalating abuse and severe emotional distress of the participants. Zimbardo's study revealed a disturbing truth. Power can corrupt even ordinary people, leading them to commit acts of cruelty, and remains one of the most controversial and criticized studies in psychology. But the experiment that shocked me the most wasn't even a planned psychological study. It was just an art performance called Rhythm Zero. In 1974, for 6 hours, Abramovich stood motionless in a gallery, allowing the audience to do anything they wanted to her. She provided 72 objects laid out on a table, ranging from flowers and feathers to scissors, a razor blade, and even a loaded gun. The idea was simple. She would not resist or react, no matter what the audience did. At first, people were gentle and curious. Some offered her flowers or posed her in different positions. But as time passed, the atmosphere darkened, and some participants began testing the boundaries, becoming more aggressive. They cut her clothes with scissors, stuck rose thorns into her skin, and wrote degrading messages on her body. The most horrifying moment came when one person picked up the loaded gun and placed it in her hand, aiming it at her own head. Abramovich later reflected that the performance exposed the darkest sides of human nature. It serves as a haunting reminder of how power, anonymity, and a lack of accountability can strip away humanity. Which of these experiments shocked you the most? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more dives into the fascinating depths of the human mind.